In this week's episode, I'm joined by Anisah Osman Britton, an award-winning tech entrepreneur, writer, founder, and MBE recipient for services to diversity in technology. In this episode, we explore Anisah's journey into tech, founding 23 Code Street, navigating startup culture, representation, and the pressures of being a purpose-driven entrepreneur. Hi Anisah, can you tell us a little bit about you, your journey, and what you get up to today?
Yeah, I'm Anisah. Thank you so much for having me. I've been in tech for like 10-ish years. You and I have known each other for a long time. And I started out as a founder, like in the really early days, went into sort of corporate venture accelerator game, which I loved. And it's where I got to meet like all the founders, all the corporates, all the good stuff. And then just kind of realized that there were so many men in these key positions of power, especially technical men at the table. There were so many people who would come to us at the accelerator being like, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. And then we'd bring all these companies together, but none of the people at the table were women, especially like in roles of, I guess, responsibility, check writing, all that stuff. So then I went and started a coding school for women called 23 Code Street because I had this. Thank you. I just had this belief that we needed more women at the table who could talk about tech, not necessarily as engineers, but just who understood the game, who understood how it worked, could be like, yes, this is true, this isn't. Don't forget about us, we exist. And I guess from there, I kind of started my own journey into what intersectionality meant, how does that evolve across time, age, race, all of that good stuff. And I ran that for 7 years.
Thank you for sharing. Clearly, there's been so many layers to this game of entrepreneurship that you have been running. You are now in a space that sounds very exciting. 23 Code Street obviously was your first baby. Lots of founders, our identity is roped in our work. You're still finding ways to find other things to kind of keep the story going. How have you found the journey of transitioning from being Mrs. 23 Code Street, this is everything everyone knows, to actually having a plethora of things that people can know you for now? Have you had to unlearn or change yourself in any way?
Entirely. It's really hard being known for something very specific that is your entire life. I was going to say 9 to 5, but that's a lie. You know that's a lie. And it becomes everything. People introduced me as Anisah from 23 Code Street. It was almost like my surname. And coming back to Anisah Osman Britton and figuring out who she is has been such a journey. And I think I've been really lucky on 3 counts. One, we had the pandemic, which sort of allowed me to disappear and do whatever I wanted to. Like, great. And we sort of closed. We didn't close during the pandemic, actually. It was afterwards. But that period of time, I was already doing new things. And then the second bit was my nanny, my grandma, got very sick. And I took a load of time off to look after her and become Anisah family, Anisah again, which again is a very different thing. And then the other bit was realizing that I had enough in the bank to kind of do what I wanted to for a little bit of time. I had space and time to explore. And in that fell into doing reporting at Sifted, which I absolutely loved, and got back into writing, which I hadn't really, well, that's a lie. I was writing all through being a founder, but I'd never really considered it a career since I was 18 and I was still at college. So I think having 3 years of just being like, actually, sorry, I don't have time for anything else, allowed me space to reinvent myself. But I'll be really honest, I'm terrified. Like, I'm really terrified of doing new things. I'm really terrified of my identity being tied to something new. I'm really terrified of doing something new and it failing because I've been known for doing something that did all right in the most British way. So yeah, your identity is really tied to these things. And especially when you start something in your 20s. Tech is really weird. Tech in the West is really weird. We have such a thing about age and like being young in tech. I'm like, this girl didn't know anything. This girl now knows stuff. Why did you trust her more? And I think we value youth so much at our own detriment that I'm now in my 30s and trying to figure out what does success look like now on my terms and not what everyone else told me I was meant to be.
Did failure, did burnout, did anything surprise you when you were transitioning? Because as you said, the pandemic came and you had that 3 years to really sit and you had grandma. That's a real life thing. What would you say would be some things that people may not know that you've had to overcome?
Good question. I think people maybe do know this. I got very sick running a company. I got an autoimmune illness, and the likelihood is it was stress. And it's really funny because I carried on running the company whilst having the diagnosis. I had an operation and then kind of came straight back into work and was like, oh, that was a thing I did. And then when I stopped, I was like, oh, wait, I still don't feel 100%. Like there is a lot of stuff to unpack and figure out here in terms of my health. So I've spent a lot of time on my health, and I think that's one that people don't really know. People know that I train for a marathon because I ask people for money all the time. But everyone thinks it's like my 30s thing, Everyone turns 30 and you either have a kid, get married, or run a marathon. I did the marathon thing.
I just did my first race this year, so yeah, okay, it's a thing.
It's good fun.
Yeah.
But it was also because I needed a goal to get my health back on track. And that's been a really long journey. And I think the second one that maybe people don't realize is, I know we just talked about it, but that identity piece. And it isn't just that external identity piece, it's also at home. I come from, half of my family are brown, the other half is white, but a lot of people saying to me, why did you shut shop? Like, what are you going to do next? How are you going to make money? What do you mean you're writing? There's no money in that stuff. And I think unpacking that bit too from like a cultural perspective, which I didn't really realize was ingrained in me. I didn't realize I thought some of this stuff was soft or too soft for me, that I had to do the harder technical stuff to feel successful, has been such a journey.
Yeah.
And even now I get really scared saying, oh, I'm a writer or I'm a creator. It feels...
You mentioned it, a minute ago as well. Like you don't want to... It's almost like you're scared of succeeding or failing. So just labeling it feels hard, right?
And cringe.
Yeah. No, I relate heavy. But you're doing it. And you're showing up. And you're here today. For someone who is at that place right now where they're trying to figure out their identity, they're trying to figure out how they approach, who they used to be, This weekend I was reading about people who've got 4 weeks left of their business to live. Like there's people that have got 1 week, 2 weeks, it's the economy is good for some and hard for others, just like it was in the pandemic. What's your message or lessons that you're learning in this season that you wish you knew a year ago or 2 years ago, that someone who's maybe taking that transition point can think about?
I think for me, it's also been about remembering that I didn't know anything when I started 23 Code Street, because now my big thing is I need to know everything before I start. And I think it's getting rid of that perfectionist part of your brain. And I see this a lot with women especially. So I think that's a big one. Like just start. Everyone starts somewhere. I actually went to Amelia Chicken Shop Date woman's 10-year event that she was doing in Shoreditch. And one of the things she said was so many things went wrong for her to have what she has now. Like she had pitched it to broadcasters. They'd all said no. So she's like, cool, I'm going to go to YouTube. So we see a product of 10 years of work and we think, oh my God, success, amazing. But if you look at her early stuff, it's so basic. It's all filmed on a phone. It's all just her like trying to do things off of her own back. And I look at her as such an inspirational entrepreneur, as someone to aspire to be, because she did just start. And I think that is the thing for me, is just start. The second one for me is when you get to a certain point in your life where you have a level of comfort, it's really hard to remove that level of comfort. It's difficult.
Very difficult.
When you're starting out in your early 20s, especially if you don't come from a family that is wealthy or whatever that may be for you, there's less to lose. I now have a house, for example. There's a mortgage to pay. There's more to lose. And I think we have to find a way of understanding what risk is again and what the upside can be. Obviously, that is scarier. And I think, again, it's small steps, smaller steps than you maybe took earlier on. Get those small steps to get accustomed and in the habit of taking risks, because you lose that. You lose it with comfort and being able to go and buy your groceries at Waitrose or M&S, whatever that may be. It's like find your way to risk-taking.
Yeah. Very important. So what things can people do to take more risks?
Small things. It's really small things. It's like my big one at the moment is I'm really worried about seeing my face on camera. And I need to do some.
You're doing something about it today.
I know this is great because I have you and it's your face. But doing things with my face, I find very daunting. So I've started sending videos to my friends, and I'm like, okay, this is a test of what it's going to be like. What do you think? And that's just like a small test to see, okay, can I get over this shyness? Can I get over the fear of being perceived, as the Gen Z say? So that's one thing you can do. If you're writing and you're worried about it going out to everyone, Substack, for example, has a privacy feature that you can just include all your close friends. Send it to your first 50, your first 100 people until you feel comfortable to put it out in the world. What is like the most smallest, the most minimum viable thing that you can do that enables you to feel comfortable to take the next big step? Because sometimes it's just that first bit, isn't it, of, you know this, like how do you get over the line of starting? And I think we forget how supportive our friends and family can be. Yeah. So use them.
Big thanks to Hiscox for supporting this podcast. Whether you're a sole trader, scaling a startup, or running a growing enterprise, Hiscox Business Insurance could protect you if the worst happens. Their policies are built around your business to protect you from the real risk you face every day. Head to hiscox.co.uk/business insurance to learn more. You've someone who's, won multiple awards. You've been listed in many women awards, Forbes 30 under 30, top social entrepreneur. There's a lot of accolades you've picked up. Has there been pressure as a person of color being an entrepreneur? I can talk on it, but what's some of the pressures that you've maybe put on yourself to kind of upkeep that someone who is coming from backgrounds we're coming from can maybe take away?
You should definitely talk on this because I feel like...
I think for me, the invisible muzzle is something I'm going to be talking a lot more about. Like, I'm Congolese, I'm British, but if I want to do something else, let me do something else. And just because I did this thing and I was the youngest person to get this thing from the Queen or these different things, that doesn't have to still be my identity. And that's okay. But no one told me that. I kind of just kept cycling in my head about being a failure, and it sounds like you've just come back to London. So in that time, there's been some thinking. What could you? Has something simple? Would you say invisible muzzle something that you'd relate to?
Yeah, I definitely feel a similarity to that bit of no one told me that I could do something different. Yet when I actually listen, everyone was telling me you can do whatever you want. Right? Yeah. And it that feels like I'm saying the same thing, but they feel very different. Saying you can do whatever you want and saying you can do something different to what you're doing, they're articulated differently and the energy behind those statements are different. And I think I had to find the fact that they were kind of meant the same thing in my head. So definitely that. The pressure of being a brown woman and failing, I felt very strongly. I felt it very strongly that if I did the wrong thing or if my ethics weren't 100% or firing someone, it's like, oh my God, what if people find out that I fired someone? I felt a lot of pressure to be the perfect role model in this space, especially given that we've seen so many, especially Black women, when they've had investment pulled or they've closed down, the repercussions across VC are huge. Yeah. Like the next business that comes up doesn't get invested in because they're like, oh, well, this one failed. But what about the 100 white men that failed, but you still invested in another white man? Why are we held to different standards? I won't say it the way I'll normally say it because I will edit myself, but I've learned to not give a crap about how people perceive me. And I think that has really helped me into this new phase. And I think that's also because I'm doing things off of my own back and not with other people. I wonder if that feeling will come back. The home pressure I put on myself.
Absolutely.
No one said to me, like, you have to be the perfect whatever, the perfect eldest daughter, the perfect whatever, like, child of 3 generations of immigrants. Like, I put that on myself that I couldn't fail my grandparents because they took a huge risk. They came here for our, like, opportunities. But now I'm starting to reframe that in my mind, which is they came here so I could do whatever I wanted. And I feel like that's been the journey of the last maybe 5 years, is figuring out what that means to me.
Is there any small practical thing that someone listening right now can do if they are under the cosh and it is 80 hours a week? Is there some things that now that you're ramping back up, you're back in the city, you're working, is there things that you're going to keep as habits that maybe we can all take as, still your homework basically, and also keep ourselves intact?
Yeah, still play. Whatever play means to you, go do that thing. Like, I feel like we forget that when we're running companies, like, just go do the thing that makes you have fun because it'll make you do your work harder. Keep up with like your health and your fitness, eat well, like all the basics can't disappear when you run a company because you can't then run anything long term or sustainably. And I think the one that I keep coming back to time and time again, and I journal this so often, running a company is a privilege. Like, it gives you the power to manage your own time, to say what you want to say in the world, to be who you want to be in the world, to like bring innovation you want to see in the world out. And all of that stuff is a huge privilege. Like, use it. You have to understand why you're building a company. And I truly don't believe that most entrepreneurs get into the game for money. Like, I don't believe it. It's one part of many. Mine obviously is very mission driven, ethics driven, whatever you want to call it. But whatever your thing is, make sure that remains front and center. Put it into your company mission, your statement, whatever it may be. Have it in your board notes, because that is what's going to keep you in the game for a much longer time. And to bring it personally to me, mine is always be very vocal about the things I believe in and what I want to see in the world. Because if I'm not doing that, then what is the point of me doing all this other stuff over here? And it will also help me attract and detract the people who will work with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why not say what I want to say?
There's enough abundance out there.
Correct.
And the more we tap into that mindset as founders, as leaders, as executives and teams, even as middle management, just as humans in society, I think the less overwhelm we will have, for sure. So as someone who stands on business and stands on what you stand on, would you say, now that you've kind of, you did corporate stuff and you did a startup life, would you say that failure is more accepted in the startup world?
Yeah, but more so in the US than here. I think we're still quite far behind. I think it's changing. I think it's changing quicker with men than it is with women. But failure is definitely more accepted in startup life. I would like to see us come to a place where we can talk about the fact that, hey, this stuff over here went really, really wrong, but I still have the skills and the drive and the ambition to keep going with that same mission.
What could we be doing to encourage more women to fail and learn and move forward? Because I definitely relate heavily to the point you made earlier about, entrepreneurs I know who look like me, who are women, it literally being like, it takes a while to bounce back if something fails. And them knowing that actually the percentage rates of succeeding is not high in some industries. And it's very competitive and money does run out. And sometimes it's just the wrong time.
I think my message would be to the people on the other side of the table, like, make it obvious that you're investing in people who have failed and not just the Adam Newmans of this world. I think that's what we need to see more of. We need more journalists telling stories of failed founders who have come back for a second time. We need more people on stages having these conversations. And I think we need to create more sort of, I guess, I'm going to call them play spaces where we can come in and just build things that don't really work, hackathon vibes. And it's like, okay, this is just nonsense. Do as much as you can. Because it's that habit thing. You have to build that resilience to failure. But I still do think that the onus lies on the other side of the table with media, VC, and the people who are supporting entrepreneurs rather than the entrepreneur themselves. They will see failure and they'll know it's acceptable once all of this side of the table changes.
Yeah, no, very important. What's your hope for the future? Like, we spoke quite a lot about learnings you've had. You've given us some encouragement on how to overcome failure and some playbooks we can take from you. But what's your hopes for the ecosystem of entrepreneurship? What are your own ambitions with the two businesses you're connected with now?
I hope we'll see more routes to success that aren't just venture-backed business, and an acceptance that you can do lots of things. Emma Gannon, who I'm sure you know quite well, talks about the multi-hyphenate entrepreneur. And I think with like the rise of AI, we'll see lots more people doing a lot more with a lot less. And I'm excited for that world. I think we deserve to be able to do everything we want to do. So I'm excited for that. For me, I am excited to find what my North Star is. I'm playing with lots of different things at the moment, but I haven't seen where it all sort of converges. And that's kind of cool and exciting. And I hope I get over some of the fears of starting again. Like, I know I'm doing it, but there's still lots of blockers. But having conversations like this with people who are doing other things again, like you, sort of brings me back into the world of like, oh, hey, look, we are all feeling similar things, and there's a space for us to start again.
Yeah, no, I think it's super important. You know, we are literally live rewriting our stories. And I think this series and this episode in particular hopefully gives people a lot of hope that you can do a lot, you can change, you can evolve. For you talking back to yourself, no age, just going back to day one, doing business with what you know now. For someone who's stepping out, trying to become an entrepreneur, or someone who's in that doubt, they've been trying knocking on that door for 1 year and it's not working. You know, we're looking at someone here across the table who's MBE, fourth rated for 10 plus years. What are some of the things that you would be putting in that backpack for the entrepreneur who's a woman starting on day one right now or year one?
Journal everything. Like, I know it sounds so small, but write every single thing down. Like, it is the best way to talk to your subconscious. And it's also a great way to look back on how you were feeling 3 months ago and seeing that progress. I wish I had started writing on the first day of the journey. I started too late, but having that is such a fantastic tool to have. And I think the second one, and you said it before, is find that community, your peer group, your friendship group that holds you, because being held through the journey is so, so key. And I don't know where I would be if I didn't have that group in my life. Yeah, those would be my two things probably.
No, that's powerful. We spoke quite a lot there about hope in the future, which I love. Where can people find you right now? How can people support your work right now?
I'm slowly coming back to Instagram, so slowly. I've had it deleted for so long. But you can find me there. My Brown Body Substack is out in the world. Please go read it. Please support. Please tell me what you want to sort of read more about. Like, I feel like I want to have more conversations about love and sex and all of that good stuff. Have it with me. I feel like that's the biggest thing you can do for me right now, is have those conversations. And the third is do your thing. Like, I find it so crazy that we don't realize that how short life is.
Be audacious.
Do your thing. Like, honestly, get your bag. If you do that, send me a message and be like, hey, look, I've started this thing. And you'll find how many of us will support each other through that, because we know how difficult it is. So yeah, do your thing. That will make me the happiest.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Small Business Sessions Founder Fails podcast, brought to you by Enterprise Nation in collaboration with Hiscox. Big thanks to Hiscox for supporting this podcast. Whether you're a sole trader, scaling a startup, or running a growing enterprise, Hiscox Business Insurance could protect you if the worst happens. Their policies are built around your business to protect you from the real risk you face every day. Head to hiscox.co.uk/business insurance to learn more. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you next time.